Dear students, welcome back to my channel. In this class, let us discuss about a different interesting concept called free charges and bound charges in conductors and insulators. So it's a 2-mark question. So they will ask you like this: mention the free charges and bound charges present in conductors. Similarly, mention the free charges and bound charges present in electrolytic conductors. Otherwise, mention the free charges and bound charges present in insulators, like that, for 2 marks. Okay, see here. As the name itself suggests, free charges means, so the charges which are free from anything or something. So where the concept of bound charges says that these charges are bounded to something or anything. Okay, see here that anything or something, it is nothing but an atom. Actually, if we go to the microscopic view of an atom, what it says: an atom consists of a central positively charged nucleus around which electrons are revolving in circular paths or circular orbits, isn't it? So on that concept, based on that concept, we have to explain the concept of free charges and bound charges. First, I will take the conductors. You know about conductors. What are conductors? Conductors are the substances which allow the flow of electric charges. Otherwise, they will allow the electric charges to pass through them or flow through them. Otherwise, so actually in the next chapter, that is in the 3rd chapter called current electricity, we used to say about the word current. Current means the flow of electric charges. So based on that, we can define the conductor as: a conductor is a substance which allows the electrical current to pass through it. Okay, see, in case of conductors, which are the free charges and which are the bound charges? Okay, you know about conductors. Conductors are the huge reservoirs of free electrons, isn't it? So what is that free electron? What are free electrons? Where they are available? See, if we go to the microscopic view, as I said earlier, an atom consists of central positively charged nucleus, isn't it? What is the charge of nucleus? Charge of nucleus is atomic number times the charge on each electron, otherwise proton actually. So inside the nucleus we can expect only protons and neutrons. Therefore, I will take the proton charge as E. So around this nucleus electrons are revolving like that. Okay, see. Now, if I take an example of aluminium, which is a good conductor. So what is the atomic number for aluminium? Z is equal to 13 for aluminium, isn't it? If we write the electronic configuration, then it looks like this: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p1, isn't it? 2 plus 2 4 plus 6 10 12 plus 1 13, isn't it? See, this is the nucleus. In the first orbit, we can find 2 electrons. In the second orbit, we can find 8 electrons, whereas in the third orbit, we can find only the 3 electrons. See, these 3 electrons are present in the outermost orbit, that is third orbit. They are termed as valence electrons. What electrons? Valence electrons. Whereas these electrons present in the inner orbit are said to be just electrons, which are called the bound charges here. And these valence electrons, they are not yet free. See, as soon as we supply some amount of energy by any means of heat, by means of light, or by means of, but not in case of aluminium for light, okay, by any means, if we supply some amount of energy, means they absorb the energy and they get detached from the parent atom and they will become very free to move through the entire lattice of that aluminium. Okay, see, I will repeat once again. So conductor is a substance which allow the flow of electrical charges through it easily. So as an example, I have taken aluminium. The atomic number of aluminium is 13. If we go for electronic configuration, then it gives to 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p1. Here, first orbit and second orbit are the innermost orbits, whereas the third orbit is the outermost orbit here in case of aluminium. So here in the outermost orbit, we are having 3 electrons which are also called as valence electrons. See, as soon as we supply some amount of energy, these valence electrons will absorb that energy and they will detach from the parent atom and they become free to move from one point to another point throughout the lattice. Hence, these valence electrons, when they get detached from the parent atom, they become free electrons. What electrons? Free electrons. Free electrons means, so these are the valence electrons which are detached from the parent atom. So therefore, in conductors, which are the free charges, that is free electrons. Okay. In case of conductors, free charges are free electrons, whereas the bound charges are, which are the bound charges in case of conductors? Please remember. So these are the electrons present in the inner orbits and also the positive ions containing the nuclei. Okay. So simply we used to say immobile ions. Immobile ions. Immobile ions means they can't move, they will stay at their positions. Immobile ions means both positive ions and electrons in innermost orbits. These are the bound charges present in case of conductors. So it's a 2-mark question, as I said earlier. So mention the free charges and bound charges present in conductors. Like that they will ask. Okay. Now let us come to the electrolytic conductors. Electrolytic conductors. Electrolytic conductors. Simply electrolytes. See, as you know well about, so ionization takes place, isn't it? Therefore, which are the free charges and bound charges here means? Free charges. Even a baby says, free charges are ions. That is positive and negative ions. Whereas there will be no bound charges. No bound charges we can find in case of electrolytes. Please remember. And the third one, in case of insulators. In case of insulators. So what are insulators? Insulators are the substances which do not allow the electrical charges to pass through them. Otherwise, insulators are the substances which do not allow the electrical current to pass through them. Okay, therefore, in case of insulators, there will be no free electrons or free charges. Here, free charges are nil. No free charges. Once it gets free charges means it will become a conductor. Therefore, there will be no free charges. So then, which are the bound charges? Every charge is a bound charge here. Bound charges, both electrons and positive ions ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So this is the concept of free charges and bound charges. Okay, so very important question for 2 marks, please remember. After this, let's come to one more 2 to 3 mark question. Again an important question. List the properties of conductors when they are placed in uniform electric field. Like that they will ask. Maximum for 3 mark. List the properties of conductors when they are placed in uniform electric field. Like that you may get a 3 mark question. List the properties of conductors when they are placed in uniform electric field. As you know well about electric field inside a conductor. Yes, electric field inside the conductor is 0. Now briefly I will tell you why it becomes 0. The first property says the electric field inside the conductors is 0. Why it becomes 0? See here. Suppose this is the region containing uniform electric field. That is, this is the direction of external electric field. Now, I will place a conductor like this in the presence of that uniform external electric field. Now, so you have already read about charging by conduction, charging by induction and all. In case of charging by induction, what we used to do? We used to do that we will bring an already charged conductor near the neutral body. It's a neutral body because it consists of equal number of protons and neutrons. Each and every atom is electrically neutral. That you know. Okay. Here, what happens? Due to force of attraction, all the negative charges come towards this side. All the positive charges move towards this side. So actually these are the total charges present on the surface of the conductors, but we can't see that. So as soon as we bring the positive plate here, so due to force of attraction the negative charges come towards the positive plate. Similarly positive charges come towards the negative plate. Now inside this conductor what happens? A new electric field will set up like this. This is E internal in the direction opposite to the applied electric field direction. Because we know that the direction of electric field is always from positive charge to negative charge. Therefore, so when E external becomes equal to E internal, the net electric field inside this conductor will become 0. Like that, we say electric intensity or electric field inside the conductor is 0. But they won't ask you to write the description why you have taken E is equal to 0. It is only for your understanding purpose. Okay, you are supposed to write only this sentence. The first property is electric intensity or electric field inside the conductor which is placed in uniform electric field is 0. And once the electric field is 0, I have already explained it. Electric potential becomes constant. I won't explain now. Okay. Electric potential inside the conductor is constant. Electric field is 0, but electric potential is not 0. That is, electric potential is constant at each and every point. Third, what is the net charge present inside the conductor? Net charge is also 0. The net charge inside the conductor is 0. This is the third property. The fourth property says that the direction of electric field is always normal to the surface of the conductor. If we take the conductor like this, the spherical conductor, suppose it is having some positive charges, means we can explain the direction of electric field in two ways. So first way is, though the charges are present on the surface of the conductor, we have to imagine them exactly at the center. Therefore, so due to a positive charge, the direction of electric field will be outwards. Hence, we can say the direction of electric intensity or electric field in case of a conductor is always normal to the surface of the conductor. Sir, suppose it is not normal. If it is not perpendicular means what, sir? See, suppose if the electric intensity is not perpendicular to the surface, suppose it is like this means, it was like this means, then if we resolve this E into two components, suppose if you take the theta here, then it becomes E cos theta here and it becomes E sin theta here. Only E sin theta is normal to the surface of the conductor here right now. But due to this component E cos theta, what happens? Whenever an electric field is set up means, so the current will be generated, the current will be produced. So it results in surface currents. What currents? Surface currents. But actually there will be no current on the surface of the conductors. Hence, so the direction of electric field is always perpendicular or normal to the surface. If it is not normal to the surface means, then the component of the electric field will produce surface currents. So which is not true. Okay, fine. Next, the property number 5 says, so the value of electric intensity on the conductors, I mean on the surface of conductors, is E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught. So I will show how it comes in the next derivation. Okay, until that you just remember the value of electric intensity on the conductors is E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught. Like that we can list few properties of conductors whenever they are placed in uniform electric field. I will repeat briefly. The first property of the conductor which is placed in uniform electric field is electric field inside the conductor is 0. Why means like this. Second one, once the electric field becomes 0, the electric potential will be constant, because I have taught that relation E is equal to minus dV divided by dx. If you ignore that negative sign, if you transfer that d by dx to this side, it becomes integration. Integration will become constant. Okay, fine. Next, the third one. The net charge inside the conductor is 0. There will be no charge inside the core, in the core of that conductor. Fourth one, the direction of electric intensity or electric field is always normal to the surface of the conductor. And the fifth one, the value of electric intensity on the conductor, I mean on the surface of the conductor, is E is equal to sigma over epsilon naught. So these are the actual properties of conductors whenever they are placed in uniform electric field. Okay, now let's come to one 3 or 5 mark derivation. Okay, let's start from here. It's a 3 mark or 5 mark derivation. I won't say this is an important okay. So it's a derivation. You may get or may not get this question for 3 to 5 marks. Okay. Derive an expression for derive an expression for electric intensity at a point just outside the irregular shaped charged conductor using Gauss law. Yes. Derive an expression for electric intensity at a point just outside the irregular shaped charged conductor using Gauss law. Whenever you heard the word Gauss, you have to follow those 3 rules. You should not forget those 3 rules. What are those 3 rules? First, rule number 1, imagine a Gaussian surface symmetrical to the charge distribution. The second one says, calculate the total electrical flux through the entire Gaussian surface. Third one, equate the total electrical flux with the Gaussian equation. Phi is equal to Q divided by epsilon naught. Isn't it? Okay, here. So, we are going to take an irregular shaped conductor. See, for example, it is an irregular shaped conductor. Suppose I have given some positive charge to this conductor. According to the property of charges, they accumulate more at sharp points. Therefore, the distribution of charges is not uniform here. It is not uniform. Okay, fine. Now, since it is not uniform and the shape we have taken is not exact shape, it is an irregular shape. Hagagi, we can't write a definite Gaussian sphere or Gaussian closed boundary here. So that's why I will take only some, let point P, let P be a point just outside this conductor. Next, I will write the boundary like this. You can take any shape because it is an irregular shaped conductor. I will take the boundary here. So, in the form of a cylinder. Since positive charge is present, the direction of electric field is outwards. Direction of electric field or electric intensity is outwards. This imaginary Gaussian cylinder is called pillbox. Usually, pillbox means it is an imaginary Gaussian cylinder which is helpful for us to find or to put the application of Gauss law. Okay, its name is pillbox, having negligible height. This height is negligible. Its area of cross section is, for example, ds. And you know the direction of ds, isn't it? Because area vector is always normal or perpendicular to the surface. Okay, let dq be the net charge enclosed by this Gaussian surface. Okay, so keep only these things in your mind. Let us apply the Gauss law. So let us follow the Gaussian rules. First one we have followed. We have imagined one Gaussian surface which is a closed one. Second one, we have to calculate the total flux through the Gaussian pillbox here or Gaussian surface. Okay. So before that, I will write a sentence. Let us consider a pillbox of negligible height and area of cross section ds. Let dq be the total charge charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. That is nothing but pillbox. Okay. This is very important sentence. You are supposed to write. Otherwise, you may lose your marks. Okay. Next, the second rule says calculate the total flux through the entire Gaussian surface. Here, total flux through the entire pillbox, I will take it as d phi because it encloses only small amount of charge dq. Hence, I will take the flux as d phi, and I will mark it as d phi upper face plus d phi bottom face. Actually, in your chapter number 1, while taking the applications, those 3 applications, I was writing phi is equal to phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3 like that. Here I have just modified it as d phi is equal to d phi upper face, means this one, upper face, plus d phi bottom face, means this one. Okay. What is the formula for d phi? That is E ds cos theta. Plus here, see, the electric field inside the conductor is 0. Just like that, see, if the conductor is like that, here is a cavity, means here also electric field is 0. Here also electric field is 0. Electric field is 0 everywhere. Since electric field is 0 here, there will be no flux through that bottom face. Next. What is the angle between E and ds? That is 0. E ds cos 0, because both ds and E are along same direction. Next, it becomes E into ds. This is d phi. Call it as equation number 1. We have followed the second Gaussian rule also. So the third rule says that according to Gauss law, d phi is equal to dq divided by epsilon naught. Actually, it is just q by epsilon naught. Since the flux is small here, d phi is equal to dq divided by epsilon naught. So you call it as equation number 2. You just compare equation 1 and 2. From equation 1 and 2. From equation 1 and 2, LHS are same, RHS has to be same. Therefore, E into ds is equal to dq divided by epsilon naught. So next I will transfer this ds to this side. It becomes 1 over epsilon naught times dq divided by ds. So that is charge per area. Charge divided by area is sigma. Surface charge density. Therefore, E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught. This is the expression for electric intensity at a point just outside the charged irregular shaped conductor. Okay. In vector form, we write like this. E vector is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught into n vector, where n vector is the unit vector in the direction of E vector. N vector is unit vector along E vector. Okay. For this, you get either 3 marks or 5 marks. Very important derivation. Derive an expression for electric intensity at a point just outside the irregular shaped charged conductor using Gauss law. So it is an irregular shaped conductor. Let us consider one Gaussian surface here. So whose name is pillbox. Its shape is cylinder one. Okay, it is having a negligible height and it is having a cross sectional area ds. So let dq be the net charge enclosed by this pill box. As we know well about the property of a conductor, electric field or intensity is 0. Next, the second rule of Gauss says we have to calculate the total flux through the entire Gaussian surface. So therefore, the total flux is equal to flux through the upper face plus flux through the bottom face. Here the electric field is 0, therefore no flux we can expect from this bottom face. Therefore, each and every flux, electric field line will go through the upper face. Therefore, it is given by E ds cos theta. Angle between E and ds is 0 because these two are parallel. Next, d phi becomes E into ds. That is equation number 1. Next, the third rule says equate the total electrical flux with the actual Gauss equation. So phi is equal to q divided by epsilon naught. So according to Gauss law, d phi is equal to dq divided by epsilon naught. Call it as equation number 2. You just compare 1 and 2. What you get here is LHS are same, so RHS has to be same. Therefore, E into ds is equal to dq divided by epsilon naught. On rearranging the terms, you get this. Charge per unit area is surface charge density, that is sigma. Therefore, E is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught. In vector form, E vector is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught into n cap, where n cap is the unit vector in the direction of E vector, or n is the unit vector along E vector. Okay, so thanks for watching. In the next class, let us discuss about a very interesting concept called electrostatic shielding. Okay, thanks for watching.